My will. They just haven't gotten back.
Did,
Maybe I should poke them again.
Yeah, because they seemed like they were trying to like, hey, is anybody free? At least right after they guested on us, and then it seemed like I don't know.
Yeah, and I told them, yeah, I'm
conversation
available.
Started off. Okay,
I'm available, and then they're like, okay, cool.
Weird. Yeah, the time stuff will be weird for me. Yeah. But since I'll be on vacation, it'll be easy to work out, I think, because they record on like Thursday and then don't post till Sunday.
Yeah, they take a longer time editing.
Yeah, they don't have a professional like us.
Well, bam. Oh, Lockpicking Lawyer posted a new video.
Did you finish Lock and Key?
I did finish Lock and Key.
We could probably talk about that. That's
I told you that I guessed everything except one thing that happened in the finale. Which is fine. Like it was like I was like as it was happening, I was like, "This is what's happening to Karen," and she's like, "Oh." And,
did you guess Ellie or Gabe? Did you not guess Ellie or Gabe?
No, that was the one thing that I didn't guess.
Gabe.
Yeah, that. No, yeah, I got Eden. I didn't get Gabe.
I had suspicions about Gabe. I got Eden, and I got Ellie. I think all of those.
Oh yeah, no, I got Ellie.
I didn't remember any
Eden.
of them at all.
I didn't get Gabe. The Gabe was the one I didn't get. Everything else I guessed.
I thought that was really smartly done, actually.
But they also, like they held out long enough where I was doubting myself. So like I was like, oh, this is what's happening, and then I was like, same. Oh. Wait, they haven't like showed their hand at this point, so it must be not that. But eventually I was like, oh, okay.
Should we go at 10?
I'm not, wait.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
My time dot is occasionally like skips a number, which is always disconcerting.
Wait, my clock is 10.4 seconds behind.
Yeah, you were really behind.
I just clapped.
My system time is 0.002 seconds behind.
Yeah, mine is 10.8. So,
I mean, I clapped on 10 and 5, and I didn't hear. Like on my end, it sounded like I was on. So
yeah, it was not 10.8 seconds removed.
10.4, no. Please. I think it's my system clock is 10.4.
Yeah,
accuracy of synchronization was 0.005. So I think it's okay.
So what I think we're saying is Apple is better at time.
Apparently.
Exclusively time.
Windows is just fucking up every single update they put out.
Wait, what?
Like every time they put out an update, they're like, wait, fuck, we fucked up. It's deleting people's data.
Classic.
It's every goddamn time. Like, what are they doing over there?
You should try
I get QA as hard because they've got like so many like system like configurations you could possibly be operating with, but holy shit, why does every Windows update come with like a don't download this update warning?
You should try being a part of the Insiders program with the nightly builds. That's what I do. That's
why?
Because I like to live on the edge.
Especially with like all the hardware you've got. Like, why do you do this to yourself?
End up reverting a lot of them.
Yeah. Why? There is literally zero benefit to you doing this.
There's a couple, but I use Windows subsystem for Linux, which gets updated with it.
Okay.
So, but whatever. No one here actually cares about Linux, so that's fine.
Okay. Are we ready?
Hells yeah.
How's the baby stand? Is now 6:40 beats. Baby is in the car on the way to Bridgewater.
Oh, I thought you just left him in the car.
Right no.
Driving to Bridgewater.
Baby's still in car. Parked on driveway.
I can tell you roughly where he is. So baby is
got a microchipped.
Bridgewater, England, on the road between here and Bridgewater.
Is that to your in-laws' house?
No, Fiona and I have a Find My Friends account. Find My Friends on Apple. We have joint so that we can always see where the other person is.
Yeah.
So I know, like, very roughly satellite photo where she is.
Right.
What are they doing?
Yeah, Andre was asking if the destination is to in-laws, though.
Oh, no, it is not. She
Okay.
is going to the shops.
Hell yeah.
Oh, okay.
She's got to go pick up something that she ordered.
Why don't they just bring it to the house?
Because there's this. So, click and collect. In the UK, for some reason, someone decided that click and collecting stuff should be cheaper.
In-store pickup?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
But, like even
what,
if you
cheaper?
Yeah, it is cheaper often to order stuff than
That
it
makes
is.
sense.
But even to order stuff like not to the shop that you're ordering it from, like she'll order something from Amazon to pick up at like a random shop,
Yeah.
and it's cheaper to click and collect it than it is to get it delivered.
Maybe it's because it's just like a designated drop-off point and they can just go, fuck it.
I think she's on her way back, unfortunately, so there will probably be a crying baby in the house in like half an hour.
Sick.
Maybe less.
Okay, well, we'll start with you then, so you can talk about your thing. You are talking about Rune Factory, right?
Yeah, I'll talk a little bit about Rune Factory to start off with.
Okay. All right, we're gonna get started then.
I'm ready.
Hello and welcome to episode 109 of Gaming Fix. I am your host, Andre Cole, aka your girl's favorite Linux distro, on this February 22nd, 2020. I am joined today by Alex.
Hey, I'm either Arch or Fedora.
I'm also joined by Sam.
I'm Milady, which is a fork of Fedora.
Sad.
I'm Puppy, and I am here to be adorable for you and a little drunk, so forgive me if I go a little off the rails on this episode.
A little off the... Sorry.
A little. Just we go so off the rails in general
So you're
on this
saying
podcast that it'll just be slightly more off the rails. Maybe.
a little fam.
It's Litten fam. We're
No
talking
Pokemon
about
this week.
we're talking about Pokemon Sun and Moon. I'm Poplio.
Do it. That was the last good Pokemon. So
Is Incineroar the
Incineroar,
the
hell yeah.
final evolution?
yep.
You just reminded me of some news we got to add to the podcast.
Well, the Incineroar is dope. Everybody knows that. It's not news.
Yeah, this just in. Incineroar, cool as hell.
He's a wrestler and he's on fire.
And he
he's also
fucking,
a cat.
every time he does a move, he just fucking flexes. He's like, ah.
Yep.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
If you like Incineroar, let me talk to you about Score Bunny and how
Macho Man, Randy Savage.
his final evolution is a soccer playing rabbit that's
Soccer
always on
violence. That's his special move.
fire. He's in a firm. That's
What?
a joke that only
Is
people
that-
who
he's
understand football violence will know.
Is he a lawyer? Is that what that means?
Football violence gangs are called firms.
There are names for soccer hooligan gangs.
Yeah, a gang of soccer hooligans is called a firm. And it's not like a group of owls is called a parliament of owls. Like that's what the inside term for inside soccer football hooliganism is that
can
they
I be
call
a-
themselves firms.
Can I be a soccer hooligan partner?
No, they're just called. There's no like. I think that
There's no
soccer
hierarchy?
hooligans are there's no. It's just a flat hierarchy.
It's a commune. It's a co-op.
Yeah.
Okay.
Watch the Elijah Wood and I think Charlie Hunnam movie Green Street,
Okay.
but none of these straight to DVD sequels to find out everything you need to know about football violence.
All
everything
Hooliganism.
gaming fix for everything you need to know about football violence.
right.
Yeah.
Well, look forward to our soccer violence fix podcast coming to you soon. But in the meantime, we're here to give you a fix of all the hottest and newest video games, starting with whatever Sam's been playing. Some hot shit out of Japan.
I've been playing something that's so new. It came out multiple years ago, but no, I've been playing something
How
so new.
new is it?
It's not even come out. I can only give impressions so far because of the embargo is the end of the month, so it's in like 6 days. But I have been playing Rune Factory 4 Special.
This is a remaster of a 3DS game, yes?
Yes. It plays really well on the Switch. It looks a lot like what was that Square Enix game that came out at launch and it was like a sad JRPG?
Funky Barn.
I
am
Octopath
Setsuna.
Traveler?
Octopath.
I am Setsuna. It looks a lot like I am Setsuna.
Like the Tokyo JRPG factory thing.
So yeah, it looks like it could have been made by Tokyo RPG Factory. It does look like kind of an upscaled 3DS game as well. Like it reminds me of I don't know. It looks good is what I'm kind of trying to say, but a bit janky. You can tell it's a remaster. Like it's clearly not a brand new for Switch game. So has anyone here ever played a Rune Factory? How aware of Rune Factory are we as a team?
I know Rune Factory is a game coming out on the Nintendo Switch that was also on the 3DS.
So Rune Factory is Harvest Moon with JRPG elements. It's made by the original Harvest Moon team.
There is a DLC called Swimsuit Day, where all the characters wear swimsuits, and some of these do not look like they are adults.
The majority of the characters I've met do not look like they're adults.
I don't know if this girl is really tall or if she's just been placed above the other people.
Oh, there's separate trailers.
I'm going to Google this DLC.
There's 2 separate trailers for bachelors and bachelorettes.
Yeah, because you can be male or female.
The 2 genders, bachelor or bachelorette.
Yep. I mean, that's what the television shows have taught me.
Yeah. The Swimsuit Day. One of them. So the one that's really tall at the back is the only one that I feel is an adult so far of all the characters I have met. Everyone else seems like a teen. Okay. The main characters are the 2 in the very middle of this picture.
Okay.
So essentially, you are a person who falls out of the sky from an airship and lands on a dragon. The dragon is on the ground, and the dragon is like, I'm gonna get you to run my town. Like, it's extremely contrived and weird. And she's like, you're the prince I've been expecting. And you're like, I don't know. I have amnesia from falling out of this airship. And she's like, yeah, no, you're that prince I've been expecting. And then the actual prince turns up that she's been expecting. And he's like, yeah, I don't really fancy it. Why don't you just be the prince? So like you become like the prince of this small town, which is very weird.
That's very dumb.
Yeah. So basically, like, it's Harvest Moon in that you have like you have a field, you tend your crops. I'm growing turnips right now. And you can also like build stuff. So currently I'm only able to like build furniture and things like that, but I'm going to assume that further down the line you can do some more stuff. There's a big dating element, as you've seen in the Swimsuit Day DLC.
But sorry, I'm just watching our video. Is Saber from Fate Stay in this game?
Oh,
because she looks exactly like Saber.
She does look exactly like Fate. Saber from Fate. Yes.
Holy crap! Yeah,
Um,
like 100%.
She is the character that I've been playing with a lot at the moment.
Yeah.
So I've basically got her as my companion, and we're running around the forest outside of the town, going into dungeons and like killing enemies and stuff.
Huh.
There's like some goblins, and there's like a giant caterpillar that when you kill it, it turns into a girl, and then the girl comes and lives in your town.
Okay.
And so like she's living in the town, and then like this elf woman turns up to the hospital because she's in the hospital because like you killed her when she was a caterpillar and she turned into a person, and the doctor saves her. Game? It's weird. And this elf woman turns up and she's like, don't worry, this girl's going to live with me. And you're like, and she's like, no, don't worry about it, we're going. And the little girl's like, yeah, okay. So the game's super weird in a really charming way so far. I think anyone who likes Harvest Moon, Stardew Valley, will find something to love here. It's really, really JRPG in the way that Stardew Valley wasn't. But yeah, it's fun. I'm enjoying it so far. I'm probably like 10-ish hours in, and I think the story's like 50 hours. So I don't know how far I'm going to get into it before I start writing up some impressions for the site. But so far, it is good. I don't know how far I will go with it personally. It's not grabbed me in the same way that Stardew Valley did, or that the old Harvest Moon games have. But yeah.
So you didn't touch this on the 3DS?
No, I've literally never played a Rune Factory before. I've always wanted to play a Rune Factory. Every time I see one come out, I'm like, I should play Rune Factory. And when the 3DS one came out, I didn't have a 3DS. And I think the previous one was like a Vita game, and it was when I didn't have the Vita. It was like all the times when they come out, I've been like, oh, I should play that, but I didn't have a system to play it on. And I feel like...
Right, please continue.
I feel like these farming games are like perfect for portable systems. So it's not the sort of thing that I would super want to sit down at the PS4 and play for like 5 hours. They are making Rune Factory 5 for Switch, exclusively for Switch. It got announced on a Direct last year. So I'll probably give that a try as well, having enjoyed this so far.
Do you know what any of like the changes or how it translates from 3DS to Switch are? Like, is there second screen functionality that got like changed or anything like that? Or did they add anything for the remaster?
The stuff you can see was clearly second screen functionality. So on like when you pick dialogue options, they basically cover the whole screen. So I'm going to assume that those would have been on the second screen originally. It's got some touch controls, which is actually
I was going to ask
really good.
Touch functionality is.
So yeah, there's like touch functionality for the inventory, which I really like. So it doesn't work for everything, but like for example, if I'm scrolling my inventory, I can just put my finger on the screen and scroll up, which is something that basically no Switch game has done. Yeah, in terms of new stuff, there's a new difficulty level. So there's like a hell difficulty. Shockingly, you may be surprised, but I'm not playing it on that difficulty level.
What?
And there's going to be a newlywed mode, which is basically after you marry one of the bachelor/bachelorettes in the game. It's got new cutscenes.
Does that just start you like a weird, like a certain percentage of the way through the game, or is it like a new game plus? Or?
I think so. It's described here in the details that I got sent that newlywed mode introduces special episodes about living the married life. So I think
so. It's like a separate thing.
Yeah, it's like a separate story mode. I think
it's like the salmon mode in Danganronpa.
Oh my god, yeah. I almost forgot about that. Thank you.
I have completely not known about it, so there we go.
All right. Well, that's interesting. It just takes everything. It just focuses solely on like the relationship part of the game instead of the other stuff.
Love across the universe.
Interesting. But yeah, so I think that the majority of the main story is about meeting a husband or wife and getting married. So that's kind of like, I mean, there is a story which isn't anything about romance so far from where I've got, but knowing how the game is advertised for Bachelor and Bachelorette's trailers, swimsuit DLC, etc., I'm fairly certain that the majority of the audience mostly cares about the husbando / waifu component.
As far as I know, they cut the swimsuit DLC from Tokyo Mirage Sessions. So
yeah, they did.
Disgusting. This is censorship. In this TED
How many vagina bones are there in Rune Factory 4?
I didn't know the vagina had bones. I'm just going to Google this. Do vagina have bone?
Do vagina have bone?
So there you go.
That's Rune Factory.
that's the only person on this podcast who has a child has to Google "Do vagina have bone?"
Is that? I cannot make that the podcast title, can I?
You can. I mean, on one of our
Pornhub.
On one of our mediums, we can.
Gotta boost those metrics.
Oh god. Okay, sorry. Anyways.
All right. So Rune Factory 4, when is that coming out?
It is out on the 28th of February, last day of the month.
No, this is a leap year.
No, it's a leap year. For fuck's sake. There's an extra day to wait for Animal Crossing.
Yep. So it'll be out on Friday next week. So before you hear the next episode of this podcast.
Yeah, I haven't got far enough to say unequivocally you should play this game. The amount that I have played, I have enjoyed. Like I said, it's not grabbed me to like marathon it in the same way that Stardew Valley did, but I'm hoping that it will.
Okay. There's like, it's a lot more like magic focused than like a Stardew, right?
Yeah, your best friend is a dragon.
Hell yeah.
And not like a cute little dragon, like it's like 20 feet tall.
Hell
and
yeah.
it sleeps in the hallway of the palace that you live in.
Hell yeah.
So it's like you're friends with what's his name, Shenron?
No, it's more like the dragon from Shrek.
Yeah, there we go.
What's the name of the buff dragon from Namek?
Trogdor? Oh no. Oh, Purunga.
Purunga.
I thought you meant from Ring Fit.
No. When Purunga turned up in Dragon Ball, I had to pause it because I was laughing too much. Because like on Earth, they just have this skinny ass, like weak dragon that's like a cool Chinese dragon thing. But then they go to Namek, and the dragon is just extremely buff.
And yeah, he's got arms,
and it makes no
he's
sense.
Just fucking ripped.
Yeah,
Purunga's ripped.
He looks like he's done a lot of dragon steroids.
He looks like Trogdor.
No, I think Trogdor is less buff than the Namek dragon. I'm googling it to send to Alex so that he can.
Don't worry, I'm already looking at it. We have an image for this week's podcast.
It made me laugh so much. Anyway,
I was a kid when I saw that, so it was just like, oh yeah, no, that's another fucking dragon. Like hell yeah. But yeah, I can see how in like 2019 or whatever, when you watch that, you were just like, what the fuck?
It's so buff. He's extremely buff, but he only has 4 abs.
you know, he's not about that, like, you know, eating too much chicken breast. He's just like, you know, I'm gonna work out, but I'm not gonna like do it for the vanity. I'm gonna do it for the fitness. He's a real one.
I'm doing it for fitness pizza in my mouth. Speaking of other things.
Wah.
Yeah.
I agree, Todd Howard.
While Todd Howard deals with the fallout of hearing what happened with GeForce Now, we'll maybe move on to Alex. Oh,
Unless
Sam?
I think he was just
Sam can
woo
continue
and
to
going
talk.
and throwing his arms in a circular
Yeah, no,
motion.
he's Sam's just hooting and hollering
Yeah.
for my sick burns.
Yep.
But Alex,
I don't know. Wait, did we want, while Todd Howard is in screamy mode, did we want to talk about the game that Sam has never brought to this podcast before? Ever?
Cold Steel.
Yeah, which has definitely never been talked about.
I don't think he can talk right now. I think he wants to. I think he wants to spare the podcast listeners from Todd Howard's wails of lament at the fact that he found out Fallout 76 is no longer playable on GeForce Now. So that is one fewer places that people can enjoy or not enjoy Fallout 76. True. So, Alex, what have you been playing? What have you been doing?
Existing, working, living. But in terms of video games, I actually have one this week because the past couple I have not. I have completed, finally, one Kentucky Route Zero.
Ooh.
I think Sam was playing it. I don't know if he finished it.
Did not finish it.
I don't know. Yeah,
I didn't finish it. I intend to.
Mm-hmm.
Someday.
Do you know which act and maybe even chapter you're on?
I just finished the concert, which I think is in Act 3.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good scene. So yeah, I'll try and sum up my feelings on it really quick, and then we can dive into some parts of it. Where I think the last act is probably the best act of the entire thing. It's like the whole last hour or hour and a half, however long it takes you. It's interesting. It's really cool. And then the very last scene of the entire game, I think was extremely well done and really nails what they were going for, which is nice because I think that I'm a person who waited all those years. I picked up the first chapter when it came out back on PS3 and enjoyed it enough then, and then didn't touch it until the re-release here, or until the full release, I should say.
Which I think is a lot of people.
Yeah. There's probably a lot of people who did the same thing. So I wasn't the kind of person who played every chapter and then waited for the next one. So I didn't
play the interstitial on over the phone.
I did play those in this release, but I did not play them as they came out. Yeah, for sure. So I was kind of experiencing it all in one block, which was nice. And yeah, I think the very end of that game nails everything which that game was going for. And I think the entertainment interstitial, that thing is actually really good. I was told beforehand, hey, maybe don't even play that. It seems like something you would hate. But actually that was probably my favorite part of the game because it was just like watching a decent play.
I enjoyed it as I was playing it. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I do think that it's the most pretentious game I've ever played.
Oh yeah, I didn't get to that part yet. Where I was gonna say, so the last act I really liked, the very ending I liked, the entertainment I liked, and the rest of it I did not like at all.
I like the game, but there's loads of bits where I'm like, what's like, okay, like the art gallery in section 1 is terrible. Like Pat was like, oh, I really liked it, and I'm like, bro, are we playing a different game here? Like this, it felt like
Bubsy visiting the James Turrell retrospective.
Exactly.
It was crazy. I was like, why would anyone enjoy this?
Yeah.
But then also, I know, like, I didn't know whether I'd be alone on that because I felt like it reminded me of how I felt playing Edith Finch, where I was like, this just isn't for me for those sections. But I do really like the like weird world bit, like the actual game. I really enjoy.
Yeah. Cheska asked me an interesting question yesterday, which in itself was a pretty mundane one, but it made me think about it. Where she's like, "Okay, if you were going to write a review for it, what score would you give it out of 10?" Which, pretty standard question. But then it made me think, if I was looking at this objectively versus what I would rate it, those would be two very different ratings. Like, I think if we're talking about objectively how it's made, like the skill that was put into it and like the competency of the programming and the writing and stuff, I'd probably rate it like a 7 or an 8 overall. I don't think I'd go as high as a 9 or a 10 because she was asking out of 10. For me, I'd probably give it a 3 personally, because I was so off put by how pretentious some of the writing was. Like, it was trying so extremely hard. Like it
I'm surprised that people that I really respect, like Austin Walker, are saying that it's like an incredible world changing piece of writing, when I definitely felt it was very pretentious.
Like, I think,
I don't know whether it's just communicating directly to people who want to write essays about video games.
Yeah, like, I think the writing is objectively good, but it also feels like we said, pretentious is the best word for it, because it's doing its damnedest to show you like, oh, I'm a good writer, basically, and I'm gonna take this to some weird places, and it's gonna be swimming in metaphor and analogy and simile, and like, it's gonna use all these literary devices, and it's gonna do all right with them, but like, it just comes across as trying very hard. Like, there's just little things about the writing that bother me. Like, yeah, this writing is pretty good, but you've in parentheticals used the word sardonic like 15 times in a row. It's like, yeah, I get it. Sardonic's a good word, but like, like, I think that was actually in the entertainment, even though I liked the entertainment.
It's one of those things where they like looked under a thesaurus and they're like, oh, sardonics, that's a good word.
It is a good word. And then there's
like, I'm going to overuse it.
Yeah, but like, there's some things, light spoiler. There's a couple of main characters that are there throughout the entire game, or at least most of the game. And one of these main characters, just like, they're building up this character, and there's an overarching narrative to this character throughout the entire thing, and you're like, oh, I wonder how they're going to wrap it up in the last chapter, because we know there's a last chapter. But like, halfway through Act 4, they just kind of dismiss that character, and they're just gone. And it's done without any fanfare, without any like, they don't give it any weight. It's just like, oh, it happens over the course of about 5 minutes, and it's like, oh, okay, hey, that character's gone now, and everybody's on all the crew that you're with are like, oh, he's gone? They're gone? Okay, bye. Let's continue. And it's just like, okay. So when it comes to an overall narrative, I was just super put off by it, because it by the end, like, the first 3 chapters, it feels like it is going for an overarching one, like, you're telling one story over the course of several acts, and it's the same characters and it's the same story, and that's cool. But by probably the end of the 3rd act, you start to see this, and by the 4th act, you really see this, where it just turns into a bunch of like just little stories. It's just little inconsequential stories. You know what I mean? Like, it's no longer about the overall narrative. It's just telling these one-off kind of, I can't even think of the word that I was going to use yesterday, but whatever.
They're like fables, like they're trying to give you a meaning through a story, but not really concerned with how good the story is.
Yeah, and none of them are connected to the main story. Like, they're relatively inconsequential. I know I mentioned that in our chat, and Pat said, yeah, but they're like all metaphor and analogy for other things. And I'm like, yeah, but they're not related to the main story.
Yeah,
which they've been setting up for 3 acts before that.
And they could have easily, like, I felt like 1 and 2 have a really nice, cool, cohesive story. Yeah. And what I've played of 3 is like, just go around a bit. Mm-hmm. And like, I don't know. I feel like the story that was in 1 and 2 was cool as hell. And the reason that I've probably not picked it up, well, it's mostly because I've been playing Broom Factory. But I'm just not drawn to pick up where the story is currently, because all the cool, weird stuff isn't really happening anymore.
Yeah, like
I don't know.
Yeah, there was really cool stuff. Like, the very ending of the 1st chapter is very cool. You're like, oh, they're going into this tunnel. What's that going to be? And like, the ending of the 2nd one is very cool. It's like, oh, I'm very interested in what comes next. And then from the 3rd one kind of on, it just kind of turns into, I'm going to flex my writing muscles and not going to care about the overall story anymore. Which, like, hey, for some people that's going to hit super hard, and for those it does, all the power to you. I just actively disliked most of it. Like, to be honest, by about halfway through the 4th chapter or 4th act, I was just skipping through dialogue because I didn't care anymore. I just kind of wanted to see.
I remember you saying you were thinking about stopping playing.
Well, that's because I ran into a bug where I had talked to some characters in an order I don't think they were supposed to be talked to, and then that caused a soft lock. And
the Skyward Sword special.
Yeah, which kind of made me like, okay, that's really stupid. Basically, they kind of you're supposed to talk to, you're in a bar and you're obviously supposed to talk to the bartender first, and then you can talk to like these people at table and then the performer on stage. I talked to the performer on stage first because obviously I was like, oh, that's like the last person you're supposed to talk to. Let's do this. And then that performer has you do a little like side questy thing that takes about a minute. Did that, went back to talk to the bartender, and click the button, and where you would expect dialogue to show up, it just was blank, and the bartender's facing away, facing the stage, and it's just there. And I pushed every button on my Switch because I moved over to Switch. I popped in and out of the menu, come back in, tried to pause, nothing was working, so I had to restart it. And when I restarted the game, hit load, it threw me back to the very start of the act. So that was neat.
Oh, yeah, I lost like 4 and a bit hours of Trials of Cold Steel 1, and like I kind of was like, oh, I don't know whether I want to replay that. I don't know whether I want to replay it. But then I was like, oh wait, if I put it on turbo mode, battles are 4 times as fast, and the open world movement is twice as fast.
Yeah,
you can skip all dialogue by just holding circle down. Like, they've massively made it helpful for replays.
So the nice thing about Kentucky Route Zero is that at the start of the first chapter, you have a pretty reasonable move speed. And then by the end of the first chapter, your move speed is glacial because your character's leg gets injured. And so the rest of the game's move speed is glacial. So that really isn't an option in Kentucky Route Zero.
Are you happy that you decided to push through and replay all that and then get through the end of the game?
I think the end of the game is good. I think the last act is objectively good. You play as a character that
I've heard it is the final act or like final chapter is good and interesting and unique, and so I don't want to get too spoiled on it. But
yeah, I think it's even it's the kind of thing you could play only that act and be fine. Like if you looked at the Wikipedia entry for what's kind of happening with the story up until that point, you'd be good enough to get in there with the context needed to just see that last hour and be.
I could read Wikipedia to get good.
Exactly. That's our strategy guide of 2020 is Wikipedia.
Sick.
Yeah. So I don't know. I didn't like it. I think it's objectively good, but I did not enjoy it at all, except for the ending.
Ooh, we have a new Twitch follower. Thank you to Damage Boost Podcast.
Oh, Damage Boost Podcast. They are a good group. But yeah.
Hell
anyways,
yeah.
I don't want to poop on it too much because I know Pat likes it. So that's maybe a conversation we'll have another day.
In approximately 11 months.
I don't know whether we'll be talking about that.
I don't think it'll count. I think we've already determined that it's not eligible for Game of the Year 2020.
I think it's eligible because it finished in 2020.
Yeah.
Same way Life is Strange 2 was eligible last year.
But it also mostly released in 2019. 90% of it, 80% of it released in 2020, whereas 20% of Kentucky Route Zero released in 2020.
For an episodic game, I think it qualifies the year it finishes.
Yeah, and it's much like if something was in early access for 10 years, we would consider it when it comes out at 1.0.
We can debate that at the time. I do not have an issue with it being eligible. I believe I brought it up, and I think Pat was the one who said no. So if Pat's the one who likes it most and he says no, then hey.
I mean, TV edition is new for this year, isn't it?
It is.
But yeah, I would say that I think it qualifies. However, I don't think it's worth talking about it very much because it probably won't make the list.
Yeah.
I think we're only in February and there have not been many games. Like, let's come on.
Yeah, Sam, I think you should finish it.
There are good games.
Yeah, I think you should finish it, but maybe anticipate skipping through a lot of dialogue in
I can't do that. I just can't skip dialogue. I have to read it.
Oh, well, then you're not going to have a great time.
You're gonna have a bad time.
Yeah. I have one other thing to talk about. It's not a video game, though. if you want to just jump into it for a little bit.
Yeah, let's do it.
It is a book that I've been reading for like probably a couple weeks, and finished it actually last week. I intended to, but we went a little long, so just kept it out. It is a book called Invisible Women.
No, I believe Sam loves the Fantastic Four.
I do love Fantastic Four.
Well, is this the book for you then? So it's kind of a book based around statistics, which, very much like the Fantastic Four, pure statistics. You're talking about means and averages and deviations, standard deviations, blah, blah, blah. Like that's pretty common in Fantastic Four, right? No? Okay.
The look Sam is giving you.
I was reading a tweet and not listening.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's how much Sam loves the Fantastic Four.
I do.
And statistics and standard means of deviation.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say right now, I cannot read nonfiction books. I don't find them interesting. I struggle so hard with nonfiction books. I read a lot of fiction, but I don't read any nonfiction.
Apparently, you also struggle with conversations about nonfiction books.
Well, Alex talked about it and was like, a nonfiction book. And I was just like, I'll tune out here.
It's really interesting because the first thing I was going to say is this seems like it should be a required reading for most white guys.
Yeah, so I'm tuning out.
Okay. Yeah, you don't qualify. But
no, I'm British, so
I'm not white, I'm British.
Interesting enough, the writer of this book is from the UK, so she uses a lot of Britishisms, and there's a lot of UK specific kind of stuff that I actually had to look up.
Bollocks.
Yep, she said she called people pillocks. She used the term bell end at one point, I think.
Oh hell yeah!
It's pronounced bell end, so it's all one word as if it's a single syllable. Bell end.
Bell end. Got it. But anyways, what this book is about is it's a very feminist book. It's very much like the perspective of hey, how in the world it seems like we're doing a good job at getting kind of the gender equality thing right, and like the gender data gap is what she specifically talks about. But she's pointing out, no man, it's super fucked, and it's just the fact that dudes are not paying attention to it, and it's not necessarily their fault. It's just because like it's actually a fault of how we take notes on statistics and how we take notes on surveys and stuff like that. Like they talk about one of the examples they give is police officers, and they're like, okay, yeah, we have lots of women police officers. That's awesome. And these police officers, they use standard issue, like bulletproof vests or Kevlar or whatever, right? Especially in like special task forces. But the thing is that all of those, like no matter what, they're designed for men first, and the women just kind of have to fit into them. And they talk about, well, that's okay. I mean, they still get some of the protection, but then you have a woman in a bulletproof vest or Kevlar, let's just say bulletproof vest, who wants protection from stuff, but because it's designed for a man, it's not designed to have breasts in it. So that automatically means that it is going to be lifted further away from her chest, and there's a greater chance that she could get stabbed from the side. So it's not actually providing that much protection. And also, like, it's just because they were designed for dudes first, like that kind of thing.
More like, Kevlar vests designed for women.
Yeah, of course. But it's a very objective book. Like there's almost no subjectivity. It's very much dealing in actual statistics. Like there are so many citations across the entire book. Like there are pages and pages and pages of bibliography at the end where you can read actual like scientific journals and research studies and stuff like that. And it's extremely well done. I think it changed my perspective on a few things, which is good, which I think is probably what they're going for. And like I said, it seems like the kind of thing that should be required reading for most dudes, especially white dudes, because on top of like gender differences, they also go into racial differences. They go into things like how things were handled after Hurricane Katrina and stuff like that, and how it was largely black women that were like single mom black women that were screwed over by the relief efforts and stuff like that. So it's a really heavy read. It is not pleasant. It's the kind of thing where you're going to want to read a chapter and then maybe watch some SpongeBob or something to get, reset yourself, but like SpongeBob the musical preferably. But it's 100% worth reading. I think it's probably one of the better books I've read in many years.
All right.
Cool. Yeah.
Do they talk at all about the video game industry? I'm curious.
A lot. Yeah. There's actually several sections that are talking about video game industry, especially like demographics of women players and like that kind of stuff.
Like, I don't even say that as like, oh, how can we tie it into the podcast? And but because it's such a massive industry, and there's kind of a dearth of women with like major representation in like leadership and stuff. So I was actually curious if they actually touch on any of that.
Yeah, the video
like
game
tech
industry,
in general. So
yeah, tech in general also gets talked on. They talk about like not representation, but how in the tech industry women hires are considered novelty still, like by a lot of like, they're like, oh, we want to hire another woman, so we fill out our quota for diversity. Whereas like so like there's just this automatic looking at a woman and being like, oh, she might not be as good as a man, but we'll get her in there because we need her. But like like that kind of thing. And stuff like in scientific studies, how a lot of women publish their names with their first two initials, because it's been proven that if people see a very feminine name at the start, they're not going to take it as seriously. Like stuff like that. So it's
shenanigans.
Really yeah.
I have an interesting story about non-feminine names, which I can't talk about on air. We can talk about it off air. It's very interesting.
Check it out on Twitter. Podcast. We'll be talking about it there. Yeah.
Names are weird. Whether it's the name of a video game, a person's name, what's in a name? Would a rose by any other name would smell just as sweet. All right. Well, a Trails of Cold Steel game by any other name would be just as long, which Sam would like to report on as he has finished Trails of Cold Steel 1 and moved on to Trails of Cold Steel 2.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll keep this short and sweet, which I say every time, and then talk 15 minutes. Everyone who has listened previously knows how good I think Trails of Cold Steel #1 is. So Trails of Cold Steel 2 is like a fully proper direct sequel. And in a way that I haven't really seen in a JRPG before. Like, you literally, the first game ends, and if you boot up Cold Steel 2, it ends in the final. It starts in the final scene of Cold Steel 1. It feels like they split the same game in half, which something they actually did do for Trails in the Sky. They realized the game was too long and they split it in half, and then they were like, why don't we do a sequel? So that's why that has 3 games in that series, whereas Trails of Cold Steel is like a 4-chapter game. So it ends in an extremely, extremely cool way. Are either of you guys interested in playing it?
Probably not.
Yeah, it's a bit too much of an investment, right? For right now.
Yeah, that's where
there's a lot of time.
The investment is far too much.
Okay, so if anyone's curious about playing this, I'm just going to spoil the end of the first game here very lightly in like a mechanic spoiler. And if you're listening, don't listen to this. So
Pat's wife, hello.
So basically, throughout the game, you've been going to the old schoolhouse, which is on the land of the school that you study at. And you've been working your way through it, and it's been like testing you. And when you finally get to the bottom level of the dungeon, there is like a huge boss, and you defeat it, and it's like the boss is teased in the opening cinematic, so it's clearly like a big deal. And it felt like it was the final boss, and I'm like, oh, cool, final boss done. And then there'll be a little bit of and then there was going to be like a school festival, and I'm like, okay, so it'll be final boss, slice of life section, move on to the next game. What actually happens is you get to the bottom, you defeat the final boss, and then like a door opens and there's a giant robot. Like,
sick.
It's basically a Gundam. There is a Gundam there. It looks super cool. And then you do the school festival, which has a concert, where all your characters sing songs. Then there's a like, the cat really wants to get in this room, so there's some scratching at the door. And then like the concert, the thing finishes, and you're like trying to look for one of the other characters in the game, and it turns out that one of the characters that's been on your team is the main villain, because the main villain wears a mask, and so throughout the whole game, you've been fighting against this guy, and they take off their mask, and you're like, oh, and then the main villain assassinates like a huge major political figure. And then the next thing you see is when he escapes this assassination, he escapes in a giant mech. And you're like, what's going on? So basically, the most advanced technology that we have seen so far has been like a motorbike, and now there are mechs. And like suddenly multiple mechs turn up. There's the civil war that's been brewing the whole game.
It's become Metal Gear.
Yeah, it's kicked off. And like, and then suddenly the mechs invade the academy. And there's a very cool bit where all the teachers who, they talk a lot about how all the teachers are like war heroes, but they bring them all out. And like the principal of the school has like a staff with a sword on the end, like a full-size staff with like a claymore on the other end. It's huge. And he just like takes out one of these mechs in like 2 hits. But there's loads of them, and like the teachers are protecting one end of the highway, and the students, your class, run to the other end, and you like take on this mech, and then you take on and you beat it, and you take on a second one, and the second one like absolutely trashes you, and then you're like, okay, and then suddenly like words like flash up on the screen, everything goes black and white, and the mech that's in the old schoolhouse flies out, like, and the main character gets in it, and then like there's a whole new battle mechanic with mechs that is only in the game for the last 20 minutes. It's really cool. And that now, so basically your entire class is all split up at the end of the first game, after the final boss battle, and so you wake up like near your home. And the main character doesn't go home in the first game, so you get to see like you get to meet your family, you get to meet see the town he's from, and there's like evil magic mechs roaming the land that you have to take out with your mech. But you're also going around to the places you went in the previous game, seeing how the Civil War has changed everything, and also trying to recruit back your characters. So I'm super enjoying it so far. They've already they're adding characters to the party that were NPCs in the first game, which is really cool. So they're basically like, the first game is really rigid as well. So it's like it's on a monthly structure. So at the beginning of the month, you have a free day. Then you have like a social section, a combat test, and then you go out in the field to do a quest. Whereas now, like, there is no monthly structure. It's more like a traditional linear RPG. But yeah, I'm really interested to see where it goes. I've heard how good the third one is. So
I'm not sure I understand.
Thanks, Siri.
She doesn't get how good it is. She doesn't believe you.
Yeah, she doesn't like JRPGs. But yeah, I was when the mech turns up at the end of the second game and you get to have a giant turn-based combat in a mech, is very cool.
That sounds pretty dumb. Like, in a good way.
So like, normally you have just one-on-one combat as normal, but when you're in a mech and you're fighting another mech, you can target body parts. And basically mechs have multiple stances, and in each stance one of their body parts is vulnerable.
Right.
So you're trying to work out which body part is vulnerable in which stance, because you can, if you try and attack a body part that isn't vulnerable, they will dodge it and they'll counterattack you.
So do you know if the next entries in the series are bigger in scale then? Like, is there going to be more mech warfare, or do you have no idea?
So I would think so. There's some stuff going on where, like, the main character, because the main character can drive a mech, like, the characters that were with you at the time are, like, linked to you. So I'm thinking maybe they can also pilot. I'm super interested. Yeah, I'm really, really curious to see where it goes. I have been mildly spoiled. I basically read the blurb for 2 and 3, like the back of the box blurb. So I knew that there was going to be a civil war, because the back of the box blurb for 3 says, after the Erebonian Civil War is over. I was like, oh, okay. So obviously the Civil War's going to happen.
That's so what you said about the mechs and stuff. That sounds like the kind of shit that I would want to happen in a JRPG, where just like they introduce like a new mechanic and it's like totally off the wall, and you're like, wait, everything is like totally changed, which I feel like doesn't happen often.
That's why you like Danganronpa V3, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
because the last act totally fucks everything before it.
That's like a story thing, but like I think if like, you know, it's mechanically changing, there's not like not a lot mechanically changes. Like, you know, you can do the most, you know, like a really interesting story, but then mechanically nothing really changes. And I think if you're gonna go for it at the end of a JRPG, you need to, like, you know, give me some ridiculous powers. You know, if I'm gonna kill God in like a Shin Megami Tensei or Persona game or whatever, let me do some wild shit.
Totally.
Yeah. Also, towards the end of the game, they introduced like real magic. So magic in the game is basically like you charge up like a crystal and do a power, but then they're like, oh, there's a whole thing with an evil coven of witches, and witches having a familiar, and like one of the characters in the team turns out to be a witch, and she has a talking cat, and the cat's very cool, and the cat like joins your party. It's good. I would totally recommend playing it to people who are interested. And like the stuff that I've said today, yes, I spoiled quite a few bits of it, but like that doesn't. Yeah, the journey is totally worthwhile. I discovered 3/4 through playing that game that there are hidden side quests in every section of the game that you only get by talking to the right people. So now I kind of had the urge to replay it and try talking to people and seeing whether there's new stuff.
Oh no!
I apparently you have to play 2 twice, because the third game assumes you have seen side quest content that you can only get in the New Game Plus.
Visit fix.space to see all the hottest takes on Trails of Cold Steel 1.
I will try and write a review this weekend if I have time of the first one.
And come back in 6 months for Trails of Cold Steel 2.
Yep.
Well, to be fair, it's been like 10 hours in.
I was gonna say it's been like 3 months. It's not that
bad.
Yeah. And
it's funny because we were in like a Game of the Year mode, and like, okay, we have to like finish the 2019 games, and Sam's just Trails of Cold Steel.
That game came out in 2019, technically, on PS4.
Yeah, technically,
it's not eligible for any awards, but you can play whatever
for everything, except Game of the Year. It's eligible for every award.
Eligible for 2019 Game of My Heart.
But looking forward instead of back, Andre, you played something that is eligible for this year, didn't you?
Yes, something that is inevitable that everyone will deal with.
Diarrhea.
People. I did not play Diarrhea. Dump in the Dark is not eligible for Game of the Year 2020.
Sadly.
I played, I think it was in early access, actually, but it just came out which is Death and Taxes, which is I want to say a Papers, Please like, but with like a comedy, like a light comedic touch. You are playing a Grim Reaper in a bureaucratic system who is responsible for deciding who lives and who dies in various scenarios. So each day you're given like a set of, you're given a set of people who are in life or death situations, and you're given a quota sometimes, or you're given various quotas. You're like, 6 people need to die today. And then sometimes you're given like extra, like you need to kill 2 people under the age of 35 or something like that. And so you need to combine those things, and you get and then you get your paycheck for adhering to the specific criteria. It's kind of a visual novel. Like there are like branching paths, and you can impact the way things play out. And so as you're choosing who lives and who dies, you get like every day when you go to your desk, you'll get like basically Twitter notifications of like news stories of here's what happened like in the world. And it'll be like, oh, because like this person died doing like this stunt person died doing a sick flip off of a building, but then their support broke and then they died. Or this archaeologist who you let live, like uncovered some ancient bacteria that is now infecting humans and causing an epidemic across the world and stuff like that.
Topical.
So you're like looking at all the, like, as you get these notifications on your phone, some of them are like the fallout of choices you made before. And some of them are like, oh, fracking, like US governments have found fracking to be like a cause of like earthquakes or something like that. And then you'll be like looking at your files for the day, and you're like, oh, this person's a fracker. Because it's got like their job and their age and stuff like that, their name, and then like a little bio about them. And so based on that information, you're deciding, does this person live or die? And so there are multiple endings. So you can decide like if you kind of go along with just like the bureaucratic nightmare, you'll get a certain ending, or if you fight back and kind of rebel slightly, you get a different ending. And you rebel as much as you want.
Is it a long game? Like, does it kind of afford you the ability to see both of those options pretty reasonably?
There are numerous endings. Like, it's like kind of a combination of endings. So I played through once in a couple hours. Like, I played through one time in one sitting, and I got like, I think it's like 3 endings, like in like a single like finish. Because so it's like it's a combination of like the effects you had on like the environment and society and like people, like there's like public health, and then there's like public like societal cohesion or something. I don't know how to describe it.
Sure.
But basically community, I guess. So I think there are like 5 kind of categories, and then there's like the story element too that can also play into that. And so I think there are like maybe like 15 ending bits that you can get. I believe there's a gallery on the main page that you can look at, and like kind of you can see how many choice or like options there are for the end. The narrative is not like the most engaging. Like it's interesting to like go through these things and get the like, okay, who am I going to choose to live and die in these situations? Even though you don't have any personal connection to these characters. It is like okay, who am I going to choose? Like, this person is like obviously just like absolute trash, but I have to keep like I have to kill 6 people and only one of them is like a clear cut, like I this person can die. And then like I've got 5, I've got like 7 other people and 5 of them need to die. Who do I choose and why? So that's interesting. And it's like kind of musing on, death and the human experience and all that stuff.
When you choose for a person to die, do you have any interaction with them? Like, do you get some dialogue?
This is all bureaucratic.
Okay.
This is all just you're putting a stamp on a piece of paper and then faxing it off.
Okay, because one of the appeals of Papers, Please to me was the fact that you were always dealing with the person directly in front of you.
Yes,
which would lead to like the person that's like, hey, my husband behind me. Like when that one character where it's like you have to choose if the next person in line gets to pass or not, because there might be like abuse or whatever going on, or if they make it to the other side, they'll be sold into slavery or something like that.
So. Yeah, I think that's like one of the weakest points of the game is you've not got personal interaction with these people that you're deciding if they live or die.
Right.
You're just, putting live or die on their check sheet. And I think one of the strong things is you can't like swap back and forth really. You can't be like, you can't waffle. So you like, as soon as you mark them, you're locked in. You can't get an item. You can get a single use item that lets you change one of your choices, but you do have to like commit as soon as you hit the thing. And there are like various items. There's like cosmetic stuff. So you can change the way your Grim Reaper looks. Like I had a fancy cat in like a red and gold suit. You can get like some Dia de los Muertos stuff. You can get dog, like some Cthulhu stuff. So they've got like weird stuff like that. And there's like some visual novel-y like stuff that's like doing the story in between the bureaucratic stuff.
Yep.
So it's like a neat thing. I think it's like $10 right now until the 28th. And then it's going to go up to like 15 US. I think is what it is.
Do you think that's fair for it?
13. Yeah, I think it's fair for the price, and the music is very good. I think it's like you can get a little radio to put on your desk, and I'd say it's pretty solid. I enjoyed all the music. There's also a demo you can play, but the demo is. So I played the demo before I bought it, and the demo is a little bit more black and white than the actual game is. Like every choice I made in the demo, I was like, oh, well, I'm obviously going to kill this person, this person, this person. They're terrible. No, like it's not even a question. Like this person is like bad and this person's bad and this person's good. It's not really a choice. So I was like, I was kind of iffy on it, but when I actually got the game, it seemed more, it seemed a little more gray, but it didn't seem like those characters were still in it. So I don't know if it's like a random assortment of characters or like a random assortment of people, or if it's just they rebalanced the choices.
Do you know if there's a very specific ending or if there's any consequence to just killing everyone, just saying die on everyone?
I'm assuming there is a consequence or like an ending for that. Yeah.
Right. But it's not something that they're going to push against you for. They're not going to be like, hey, you're doing too much of your job.
I mean, narratively, yes, but you could like, there's no reason you couldn't do that. I don't know if that would like cut the game short or if you would go through. 'Cause it's like, basically you're on like a month timeline. So it's like, you're on a February timeline. Actually, it's 28 days.
Okay.
But they do like weird stuff with time, and they like weird stuff. Like they spend a lot of time in the interstitial bits, like kind of philosophizing and stuff, talking about like the human experience and what does it mean to die.
Sorry, and the people talking about this are the Grim Reapers.
the Grim Reaper and your boss, who is named Fate, which is just like a guy with a cat.
Sick.
Yeah. So, and he basically, your character was conjured at the start of the game, and so you are conjured and set to work as a Grim Reaper immediately. And there's like, oh, is there a Grim Reaper for, you know, plants, for buildings, for non-living things? And yes, there are Grim Reapers for plants. And at one point, I did have to choose some plants to live and die. And then there was fallout to those choices.
Did you let the succulents live?
Succulents were not on my list.
Good, because they shouldn't.
But they're like, I think if there were more ways to see the impact of what you were doing,
yeah, totally,
it would be, I think, more interesting. Other than just like, here's a Twitter like headline for a news story.
Yeah,
but check out. People should check out the demo and see if they're into it. It's like 7 days of in-game stuff, and so you kind of get the basic idea. You get like the basic idea of what you're doing, but it leaves out like a lot of the interstitial stuff that you do between days, which is not a lot, but it is like where a lot of the narrative happens.
Cool.
So yeah, it's on Steam. Death and Taxes. There's a free demo, and it's $9.74 on the US Steam, and it's going to be $13 after the 28th. So not a huge burden on people. Then the other thing,
oh God,
I hearken back to my high school days. About 10 years ago, this game came out called Halo Reach on the Xbox 360. And
I
just
graduated
recently,
university when that game came out.
Just my friends left during lunch to go pick up their preview copy or their pre-order copies from GameStop, and then came back to school and were like, "Oh yeah, I got Halo Reach," and like cuddling it during lunch.
Yeah, I graduated.
I was like, why is that not just in your car? Like, why do you have it with you? What are you doing?
Yeah, Sam, I had graduated from my first degree when Halo Reach came out. So
I was a junior in high school. Anyway, right, yeah, kids. So yeah, so they put it out on PC recently. It was like the first bit of the Master Chief Collection as they slowly roll it out, and I was like, I want to check this out because I had a good time playing that with my friends. 80% of my time with with Halo Reach was on just LAN, not online, and it was weird. I played it with keyboard and mouse because it's on PC. So what the hell are you going to play it with? It felt weird. Like it didn't feel right to play with keyboard and mouse. And I think that's just because I think shooters now are so much faster. Like you're not
more responsive.
More responsive. Like, I turned up sensitivity and like my DPI and stuff, and it was still just like something was weird. Like the movement speed was slow. Your sprint is like on a timer, like a countdown. That was bizarre. I played through like most of the first mission, but I didn't end up finishing because I had some other stuff to go do. And then I played one match of like Team Slayer online. I'm not
like Rain and Blood or something.
Exactly. Slayer. So yeah, just one match of the multiplayer, which took me a while to match into. Like, I don't know if it was only PC or if it was PC and Xbox crossplay. I'm not sure what was going on there. But I was the best person on my team, which is a bad sign because it was my first game of online, and we got stomped. But and again, I didn't feel good playing it with the PC controls. I should check it out with like a controller and see if that's like, okay, this is what I'm looking for. But it wasn't a bad time, but just it didn't feel right, is the most I can say about Halo Reach on PC.
And you played Destiny on PC for a while, right?
Yeah. But like Destiny, like they purposefully built it for PC, and it was originally a console game, but it feels really good on PC. And something about Halo Reach just, I mean, you know, it's a decade old at this point or so, and it just doesn't feel right. And like the controls are weird. Like to swap weapons, you hit the 1 key, like either one, because you've got 2 weapons. You just hit 1 to swap weapons, and then you hit 2 to swap grenades, and that's weird.
Oh, so it's like
you're
using that and toggling between.
Yeah, because you've got frag grenades and sticky grenades. You probably get incendiary grenades at some point or something like that. And maybe that's only in 3. But yeah, so you get like multiple types of grenades, but it's just 1 button to swap between them instead of like a 1 and 2 for your guns, or like a 3 and 4 for your grenades or whatever. So it's definitely like retraining your brain from what you're normally used to with first-person shooters on PC.
Mm-hmm.
It looks fine. You know, playing 1440p. Some weird like stuttering stuff kind of on the like NPC models when I was like walking by and I was like moving my camera a little fast, like their characters kind of juddered a little bit in a weird way. I'm not even sure how to describe it, but it looks strange. But yeah, I'll play more of it, but really I'd want to play that with friends, and none of my friends who I played Halo Reach with have PCs at the moment.
But okay, but you can't like do the co-op campaign crossplay like between PC.
Well, they also don't have Xbox. They don't have Xbox Ones either. So
fair enough.
It's a non-go either way. It's on Game Pass, so I didn't lose anything by playing it.
Yeah.
And they did weird stuff with like the multiplayer progression where it's all like season based. And whereas before it was like you just leveled up, and then each level you'd like unlock some bullshit for dressing up your Spartan, but it's different now.
Is there any timeline? Because this is the only Master Chief Collection game on PC now. Is there a timeline for when the next ones are coming, or
they're doing test flights for Halo 1? Like they're releasing them in chronological order. So like they're doing beta stuff for Halo 1. I imagine by the end of this year it'll be all out. But I don't know for sure when, like, what the actual timeline is.
Man, Master Chief Collection has had such a weird history. Like,
yeah, but it seems like they've
broken for a while.
Yes, but it seems like they've at least got it in an acceptable place now.
Yeah,
which is
3 or 4 years later.
Yeah. But it aside from like feeling weird, it seems like a good way to play Halo, especially if you're going to play on controller, because it seems built for that. But
how do you feel about Halo Infinite? Like, does this make you want to jump back in? Like, is this scratching your Halo itch, or is it making you more thirsty for Halo Infinite?
I would need like my memories of Halo are entirely wrapped in LAN stuff with my friends in high school.
Sure.
And playing like custom zombies games. So like I had fun playing through like the stories co-op or whatever, but that was never like the draw for me. So it'll be on Game Pass, so I'll probably play it, but I'm not like, Halo Infinite, I need to see this, unless like I somehow get a magical group of friends that can somehow recreate that high school magic, which is not going to happen because I don't have that many friends, and getting 12 people together to play at one time is nigh impossible outside of high school. So we'll see, but I am interested to see what they do, but I am not like chomping at the bit for Halo Infinite. But that's going to do it for what we played this week. And now we can move on to the news.
There's a fair amount of it this week, actually.
There's a lot of stuff happened. Some stuff we won't touch on because like the Star Citizen lawsuit, because Pat is not here, and Pat's our Star Citizen fanboy, and he can probably talk more about that than any of us can.
So check him at Twitter on PJC Plays.
PJC Plays, where he is definitely not tweeting about this already. But this week we do have some more news about GeForce Now from NVIDIA. Bethesda pulls their games from GeForce Now, excluding Wolfenstein Youngblood.
Oh, I didn't know the Wolfenstein one. That's funny.
Yeah, Wolfenstein Youngblood is still available on GeForce Now. Okay. Skyrim, Fallout 4, et cetera, have been pulled from GeForce Now.
I don't understand why. Like,
much like Activision, what the fuck are you doing?
Like, it feels like having more places to play one's games is probably better, because people still have to purchase the game in order to play it. And it's like, people can, like, there's nothing stopping me from having my current PC and building a second PC and having that copy installed on 2 PCs. So why are they saying, okay, you cannot install it on GeForce Now, which is essentially just another PC, but it's just being streamed instead of on local hardware? Like, I don't understand why they're doing that.
I don't know.
Because NVIDIA is using their content to make money. That's the reason.
Because they're using it in advertising?
They're not getting a big enough cut. My assumption is
they're also not offering, they're not doing anything. So
yeah, but like, if you're going to use my content to make money, I don't know, businesses, if they're using their art to make money, they want to cut.
Sure.
I can expect that.
But they're also letting them use Wolfenstein Youngblood.
There was probably contractual reasons why Wolfenstein Youngblood has to stay on there. I would expect that maybe Youngblood was organized with a contract for its release when it came out last year, because it's the most recent Bethesda release, and everything else they've just left. They've left running. They took off.
That's reasonable,
because it was a mass deal.
You can hear Todd Howard wailing in his lament.
He's still livid about GeForce Now. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, like, I don't know. I don't make content, like, in terms of that people would pay for. But like, it feels like to me, yes, you know, they don't have to do anything, but like, once you say, for example, if you make a Netflix movie and Netflix like licenses it, you get a tiny bit of money every time somebody watches it or whatever. I don't know whether the same thing is true of GeForce Now, or maybe that's what people want, or like a lot of publishers seem to be stripping their games from GeForce Now. It's a commercial product, and I think it's probably because NVIDIA are making money and they're not passing it on, or not.
But the weird thing is that it's not a different version of the game. They, like, the people haven't had to do anything, and people have already paid for the game. And so, I mean, if developers want to pull out and go, no, you're not going to pay us for games people have already bought and pay them again, then if they want to kill GeForce Now over that, then what the fuck are they doing?
The only other thing I can think of that would make that kind of weird is licensing, because as in, when you purchase a game, you're not actually purchasing the game, you're purchasing a license to the game. Like, even if you're doing something over Steam, right? You are licensing one copy of this game. And I wonder how that works for the GeForce Now servers, because yes, the license that you're playing, like, you're ostensibly logging into a Steam instance on one of their machines, but I think the way their machines work is that they always have a copy installed, basically. That's why it's instant play. So I wonder if they have to have like special license negotiations that's like, because your license, if you purchase it on Steam, is a 1-to-1. You can play this one copy of this game on your one install, usually. And or at least with the one account, be it if you have 2 computers, who cares? But this is distributing the same copy, the same installed copy of the game to potentially thousands of people. So I wonder if it is a licensing, like, special license that they have to negotiate with the publisher or developer.
Maybe. Those deals are weird.
I think we know that the reason these things are off is business.
Yeah, definitely.
It's just
it's not technological.
The business is, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's what I'm curious about.
It's just shenanigans, and it's anti-consumer, and it's all the people complaining about
is it anti-consumer, or is it just that a business deal hasn't been made?
No, it's
and you can't just do stuff without a business deal.
You're saying that people can't use the games they bought in a way that, it
isn't the way that they're licensed.
Yeah.
I don't care.
You bought a license to play a game.
And I should be able to play that game. And it's
you can.
It's on Steam, and it happens to be on a remote desktop. Who cares?
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at with it being on my local machine versus one they host.
What is the difference there other than NVIDIA is giving me a remote desktop, and why should Bethesda get a cut of NVIDIA giving me a remote desktop when Bethesda is contributing nothing to that transaction, when I've already given, I can't play that game unless I've given Bethesda $60, $20, whatever it is for the game they want.
Yeah.
It's shenanigans.
Yeah, it's sticky.
I don't know.
A bunch of they're not Activision, Blizzard, they aren't the first people to pull their games from it. Yeah. A lot of people pulled out right before when it went live, but
I think it's kind of like the start of VR, right? Like when the Oculus first came out, like we were still seeing the edges being ironed out. I imagine in about a year time, this stuff will be ironed out to at least a stable place.
Yeah, this is only hurting streaming. These folks are only hurting streaming by doing this.
Yeah.
And if they want to negotiate, but I
think the thing is,
I don't see where they have a leg to stand on in this case, other than
NVIDIA making money off of content that they've made.
They're making money off of software that they develop that lets you remote desktop with low latency.
Like, I don't think me purchasing 16 gigs of RAM from Corsair, which is
RAM from the internet,
exactly, which is necessary to run most of these games, or a GPU from MSI or something like that. That they're not paying Bethesda because I run Fallout on that GPU. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of,
but it is different. Like it's not the same. It's not one-to-one. Like NVIDIA have made a service that they're going to continually charge people for, not a one-time purchase, and that service is making money using other people's content. So those people deserve a cut of that money, in my opinion. Like,
and what you're saying is people bought the game.
Yeah.
Well, no, because NVIDIA are making money off of that game.
They're not, though.
They're not.
NVIDIA doesn't get any money from selling the games because the games are just bought on Steam.
Well, no, they're making money off of those games. If there were no games on GeForce Now, nobody would pay for it.
But no
one's going.
It's just a remote
I'm going to buy GeForce Now
Steam.
to have a remote desktop.
There's no reason that every game couldn't run on GeForce Now.
Yeah, it's sticky.
No work has to be done. Like, developers don't have to do anything. It just works because it's remote desktop.
Yeah, it's different. It's different than Stadia, where they're going out and specifically licensing games as they
have to develop them and do work to get
Stadia
them working.
Version of this, like I imagine behind the scenes with the money thing is like they say, oh, okay, 400 people, which is most of Stadia audience, played Tomb Raider this week. Okay, you get paid this much money for that. In this, like Andre says, it's essentially a tunnel into their machine. So you could be running this on a $50 piece of crap at home PC that barely works for anything except for opening this stream.
It's like if Microsoft enabled the their xCloud streaming or whatever, but like the xCloud streaming from your home console, and then Bethesda went, nah, you can't stream Doom 2020 from your console.
I don't think it's quite the same as that, but
it is different. It's approaching that. Like, it's not from your console, but it's like it's the same idea. Like if they said you can't stream it at all, like what?
It's definitely like it is different. They are different. They are two different things.
Yeah.
Like,
but it is still
the
weird.
xCloud and GeForce Now are basically equivalent
in terms of the end user experience. Yeah, but they're going for different things.
Yeah, but
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah.
It makes me look side eye all the companies pulling out, because I'm just like,
my suspicion, my point of view is that they're probably pulling out because they don't have an active business deal, and you need to have something in place, whether it is monetary or whether it is literally just we allow you to have our content on your platform. That's probably what it is, or else all of these people wouldn't be pulling out at the same time.
It's shenanigans.
It is shenanigans.
Because I would assume that NVIDIA did the same deals with all the companies, like same kind of language, and not everyone's pulling out. It's like, there's like 10 companies or something that pulled out, I think, total.
Is it like the big ones are
Bethesda. It's Bethesda. I think Square Enix pulled some stuff. Capcom, I think, pulled some stuff. But it's like, okay, like, is it because of money? Is it because of like guaranteeing user experience? Is it because of XYZ? Who knows?
Yeah.
So I am curious to see what happens with the GeForce Now stuff, and who pulls out, what happens, like how long does it take for that kind of stuff to come back? Because I think that's kind of will be the big marker for streaming stuff, not Stadia, not xCloud. xCloud I think will be important, but I think GeForce Now is actually kind of the high watermark for where people should be aiming for with streaming stuff.
Yeah. Speaking of shenanigans, what's this Destiny 2 thing? Just to get it out of the way.
All right. So, y'all know who Rasputin is?
Yeah, he's Russian.
Rasputin, Russia's greatest love machine. No, okay. So in Destiny, there are these things called war mines, which are big AI that are good at war and fighting and stuff. Rasputin's one of those. And in Destiny 2 Warmind, the DLC from year one, the second DLC, Rasputin was kind of a big deal, and Osiris was a big deal in the first DLC for Destiny 2. But they never interacted. But Osiris has been a big deal in Season of Dawn. Season of Dawn focused around Osiris and his buddy Saint 14. And just this week, as Season of Dawn winds down, work in like the last 3 weeks or so, 2.5, 3 weeks of Season of Dawn, a cutscene showed up when people logged into Destiny 2, which featured Osiris walking into Rasputin's kind of like mainframe and facing off and throwing some accusations around at Rasputin. Kind of trying to find out where his allegiances lie, which is, I think, which many believe to be a teaser for what's going to happen in the third season of Destiny 2 Shadowkeep's Season Pass. Nobody knows. But the implication is that maybe Rasputin isn't on the side of the light, and you might have to side with Osiris or Rasputin in the coming season. So I don't know. That'll be cool. But it's interesting because it's following up on story threads that were put down in year one of Destiny, or Destiny 2, year one of Destiny 2. And we're now in year 3. And so they're going back to all that stuff with the season passes. So if they keep doing that, eventually we'll find out what happened to Uldren after he killed Cade and we killed him. So.
Okay.
Yeah, it's interesting as someone who is now interested in Destiny, but also I don't know how much I trust Bungie to actually deliver on the story at this point, because they have been kind of lackluster on that front. Speaking of lackluster.
Oh, geez. Which one are you going to?
Sony is not going to PAX East or GDC. Neither is Facebook going to GDC because coronavirus.
Mm-hmm. Which for one thing, I think that's actually 100% valid. As someone who has attended both GDC and PAX East, people get sick at those very often because you're basically walking into like just a human petri dish of
Boston, I believe, has one confirmed case of corona from like a few weeks ago, and it was from someone who was in China. So
yeah, but those numbers,
and they pulled out of Mobile World Congress and
well, yeah, but I think it's still GDC. Totally valid because like I think paying attention to the numbers of coronavirus isn't actually that important. Like people are very, like they're running websites that are like tracking daily things as like they're almost gamifying it. But like the incubation period of coronavirus having 0 symptoms for an unknown amount of weeks is pretty scary. And the ability for it to transmit to various places. Like I 100% see why not wanting to be in the middle of a giant conference with tens of thousands of people is a priority in a realistic way, but also I think like Sony not being there, like I think you said this before we started recording, that it seems kind of like a convenient excuse for them in a way, but also coronavirus is affecting the tech industry in a very, very large way.
Well, yes, so it is supposedly, reportedly having an impact on production of the PS5 and like
the Animal Crossing Switch.
Yeah, lots of things in the tech sector and non-tech sector, but lots of production things. Because I don't know if you know this, a lot of stuff is made in China.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
So Sony, but if they go, oh, coronavirus, we can't talk about the PS5 at these things because we're not there, because we don't know. But also, I've seen a lot of people talking about like PAX, GDC, E3. These are all great places to meet with like indie developers, other developers in general, and sign deals. And if Sony is just like sitting out all these events, that kind of like maybe that's an indication of maybe things will be a little thin on the ground come.
I mean,
I don't think things are going to be as thin as they were with like the PS4 or Xbox One launch.
Yeah,
but maybe they're not going to be courting as many smaller developers as they were last time, which I don't think is a surprise.
Yeah, were I a smaller developer who is bringing my game to, or if I was attending GDC, like because the GDC tickets for non-press people and like people who are just doing it on their own are very expensive, like a couple grand. And like if you were an indie developer who set aside that couple grand and like housing in San Francisco and travel and all of that with the expectation that, hey, maybe if I go to this thing, I'll have the ability to meet some of the big players and kind of shake the right hands and maybe potentially make a deal or two. And then suddenly some of the big players just decide, oh, we're not going anymore. Like that's probably a big bummer because you have to get those tickets like a year in advance. So
or your visa is denied, which happens to many people.
That is also a thing.
You might be able to refund your stuff. You probably won't be able to refund your GDC ticket, but
I don't know if they let you do like airfare and
probably
lodging and
you could probably do something there at least.
Maybe if you've got travel insurance, but even then, like it's
But either way, like it is causing, like I can see an indie developer being like pretty unhappy with that turn of events. But again,
there are plenty of people to meet and network with and whatnot at GDC and
Microsoft's still going to be there.
It is like
Nintendo's going to be there.
It is just another like, is Sony okay? I'm sure they'll have somebody there or they'll have some people there, but just they won't be there in official capacity.
I think
but
might be
it is odd.
my thought is that Sony is like, we're massively smashing everybody else. We are by far the leading gaming product on the market. We don't need to try.
That's
why
scary.
they've not.
That's so scary because that's exactly what happened between the PS2 and the PS3.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure we're going to get the exact same thing again with the PS5. We're going to get like something that is like a bit weird and overpriced and is doing something that not many people want.
Oh, speaking of,
well, apparently PS Europe is in charge of it, so maybe not.
I do need to admit I was wrong. I anticipated a February 19th or 20th PS5 event reveal. It did not happen.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I failed you.
But
loyal listeners.
But yeah, I don't know. Looking into it, I can see why people are saying this might be like a Sony decision to kind of like, they're like, oh, whew, wow, glad we could throw that one away. But pragmatically, I also understand why someone would not attend those events, especially like
100%.
if it's the leadership of your, like if it's lead developers that are going to these conferences, you don't want them to get fucked up and stall your pipeline.
It's odd how close to the events that they've pulled out, and
well,
I mean, coronavirus only became a thing like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, definitely. Like I think that is the bigger factor. Like
I expect they've been thinking business wise, can we pull out? Is it going to get better? Basically, is the coronavirus situation going to get better?
It's a wait and see. It's a go, no go. Like you have to make a decision.
It was about a month before they pulled out.
Not many organizations are pulling out. Like Sony is the most notable. So it is interesting that they are the ones looking to that are citing that and going, no, yeah, we don't. We're gonna play it safe. And I wonder, is that Sony Europe who's making that call? Is it Sony Japan? Is it Sony America? Like who's?
I feel like
because these are American events that they're pulling out of. Yeah. So is it like the American branch that's kind of calling the shots on those, or what?
Well, as far as I can tell, Europe is calling the shots for the PS5.
Yeah, but
like Europe is in charge of Sony, PlayStation.
Yes, and like for them, like, North American marketing events, is that the same thing, or who knows?
If they wanted to not do these events, they would just have not organized to do them. They'd have known months and months and months in advance that they didn't want to do this stuff.
Yeah. But I'm wondering,
they're not pulling out because they have nothing. They're pulling out because they're concerned about Corona.
Yeah, I'm just curious who's actually making those calls. Is it the North American? Is it the European? Is it the Japanese part?
I would hope that it's the people who are actually going to go who would say, do you know what? We're actually not comfortable with this. We're not comfortable getting on a plane and being in a convention center during a epidemic. Although apparently it's only really bad. It's only really deadly if you are old.
And you have more of a chance of getting
or infirm.
It's pretty intense, though. I mean, SARS, which we obviously know was considered to be pretty major almost 20 years ago, that infected 8,000 people with a couple hundred deaths. Currently, coronavirus has over 75,000 people infected with over 1,000 deaths. So it is significant. Like it's significant, and the numbers, we have to watch it like week by week, not day by day, because that's just going to increase. Yeah. So I get it. I think it makes sense to me, again, as a pragmatic thing. Like, I think we can read into the business side of it if we want, but I think for the people, the human beings that have to be on the floor, it makes 100% sense to me.
Yeah. Well, hopefully everyone out there avoids the PAX pox.
Yeah, this year especially.
And speaking of getting on an airplane and flying somewhere, Nintendo treated Sam really to an Animal Crossing Direct. 25 whole minutes of Tom Nook.
Well, to be fair,
laying out the terms of your loan.
To be fair, Sam and Allison, she's just not here.
Allison's not here.
Yeah.
What was in the terms of this loan that Tom Nook so kindly offered to you, Sam?
Look, so everybody rags on Tom Nook, but he gives you a mortgage, 0% down, 0 interest that you can pay off when you want. You could never pay Tom Nook a single bell, and nothing will happen.
He'll break your
As
kneecaps.
someone who owns a house, that's not a deal you can get in real life. Tom Nook is the world's greatest landlord, like the world's greatest.
If you know
bank.
somebody rich enough, you could.
I don't think there's many, even people who are like, just secretly sitting on £50 million.
Yeah, I don't think
nice people.
I'm
going to be like, hey, do you want a couple 100,000?
I don't think rich people got rich by saying 0% APR.
No, you got to get close to them first. Anyway,
unless that person is a member of your family and also generous, you're fucked. So Tommy and Timmy are gonna do great.
Yeah.
So yeah, Animal Crossing New Horizons. I don't think we need to talk about it too much because I expect that if you listen to this podcast, you probably watch that direct.
I didn't.
I'm super excited. You're not listening to it though.
I listened to the direct. I was in the shower, so I didn't watch it.
I think
shower direct.
The game looks fantastic. One of the best looking Switch games I've seen. I think a lot of that is because it has a fixed camera, so they don't need to show you most stuff.
Camera fix. That's our next one.
Yeah. It looks really good. I have some concerns because the big things that you can do in Animal Crossing are like fishing, bug catching, fossils. Like the museum is huge, and it doesn't look like the museum is in the game at launch, or it isn't in the game when you first start playing. They talk about, they're like, oh, here's the game. Here's some stuff that happens further down the line. And I'm like, do they mean it's going to be patched in? Or do they mean that you earn these buildings?
I imagine the latter.
I think so too. In New Leaf, you earn new facilities and buildings and stuff. And that's the game, that's the Animal Crossing that I've played the most of by a country mile. You unlock KK's Club and you unlock Kicks and things like that. I'm hoping that it's similar to that, in that like when you upgrade your house, you get new buildings in the town, or on the island in this case. I have to say, I'm a bit annoyed that the buildings aren't all like on a main street in the same way they were in New Leaf. Like I really liked that the island, like the town was the town, and then the shopping street was the shopping street.
What are you trying to gentrify this island already, Sam?
So like having to find places on your island for all these buildings to sit will be annoying. Like,
so you wish there was zoning laws on this island?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
What white nonsense is this?
There's a lot. I didn't read Alex's book. That's why.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of really good stuff. The game looks great. There's a lot of progression that there's never really been in Animal Crossing before.
Sorry, but Invisibel is such a good idea. Just the ghost of Isabelle haunting you everywhere you go. Anyway, sorry.
There is a ghost. There is a ghost in New Horizons.
All right.
Someone pointed out in the back of a shot, you can see that there's a grave. So that's fun.
It's not a grave isn't a ghost. Also, the thing that they were talking about...
There is a ghost and there is a grave.
Oh, okay.
In New Horizons.
Okay, well, that's weird. Why is this person buried on this island? Like, that was a question I had, because I think I saw the thing about this character. I was like, oh, they're dead and they're buried on this island. And it's like, how fucking long have they been on this island? It's like, I thought you just came here. Like, what? Shenanigans.
Sorry for interrupting, though, Sam. You were saying...
There's a lot of progression, it looks like, in the game. I'm excited about that. I had already pre-purchased the game, so at some point I was in no matter what, but I really wanted to see more of like what the game was going to be like. I still think it is extreme hogwash that you can only have one island per Switch. I don't really care about the cloud save stuff. That's been the same the whole time.
It's
pretty
stupid.
Dumb. Yeah.
It's
like
it's not the
you
kind
can
of thing.
only recover a lost save once.
Yeah,
Like hopefully you're not losing your Switch multiple times, but
like
why on earth can I only, if my Switch gets stolen or like I drop it in the toilet or whatever, normal things that happen to a Switch, why can I only salvage my village once?
Because Nintendo doesn't know how to use the internet.
I think that they're trying to limit people farming for rare stuff. I think that was the reason before.
It's not a massively
play that game.
It's not a massively multiplayer game.
I don't know. I don't really know. Let's just say it up front. I don't know why they're doing it. It doesn't bother me.
Nintendo doesn't know how the internet works.
Yeah, like I don't see that as being a thing to push you all the way away from pre-ordering or ordering the game, whatever. But it is dumb.
Shenanigans. It is another example of Nintendo just
being
misusing the internet.
Yeah. So in short, I will be playing this game. It comes out on the 24th of March, right?
Sure.
I don't know.
I think it's the 24th. So that's the same day as Trails of Cold Steel 3 on Switch.
Well, you want to finish Trails of Cold Steel 2, so you'll be okay.
I legitimately don't know how much I'll be able to play Animal Crossing. I'm going to try and massively push to finish 2 this month. I played like 40 odd hours of 1 in end of January, beginning of February. So I think I might do all right. Yeah. Anyway, I have to go help. I have to go help raise a baby. As you can hear in the background.
Yes.
Thank you.
Tell Todd Howard to put the games back on GeForce Now. It's for the people, for the gamers.
He's waiting for his percentage.
Yeah. So
he can't buy leather jackets and cowboy boots.
So sad.
For free.
Well, okay. If you were people playing it on GeForce Now, the fewer people buying Atoms on Fallout 76. So
if you go to Fix Podcasts, you can find all my shit linked there. I love you all. Goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye. All right.
I'll clap after I finish this recording so that Alex can see where it's going. I don't know if that's helpful or not. Bye.
Bye.
All right. Well, moving on to the next news. Neither of us give a shit about Animal Crossing.
Nope. Not at all.
NVIDIA. And back in the news because they done fucked up, Alex.
Yeah, they
made a dire mistake. This is like a serious misstep.
It's pretty disappointing.
There have been talks about AMD delivering the NVIDIA killer sometime this year, and I think this is just kind of the final nail in the coffin for NVIDIA.
NVIDIA killed itself with this one.
Yeah, it's in honor, or not in honor, but like in collaboration with Cyberpunk 2077 developer CD Projekt Red. NVIDIA is releasing a black and yellow Cyberpunk edition of their RTX 2080 that they didn't call an RTX 2077.
Yeah, like
they're done.
Stock
price is plummeting. Their executives resigning in disgrace.
Unbelievable.
It's nonsense. It's truly just absolutely terrible.
It was sitting right there. They just had to remove 3 numbers, and they could have knocked it out of the park.
It's just minus 33 or plus 77 if they did an RTX 2070. But it's
I don't think we should even give it that much more time because NVIDIA fucked up so hard.
They fucked up so bad. It was right there. Speaking of fucking up so bad, HQ Trivia has shut down.
I didn't know it was still going, honestly.
Well, it's because Scott Rogowski left.
Yeah,
and once Scott Rogowski was gone.
Was it that he left or that they got rid of him? I can't remember.
Yeah, I think it was a kind of a little column A, a little column B.
Yeah. I again had no idea it was still going, so I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I stopped sometime in early 2019 or sometime in 2018. I don't even know when. That's how long ago it was. But yeah, it was, everyone got laid off and they did one final show and it sounded like a party.
Yeah.
a
HQ
horrible party where everyone was let go.
Yeah, like I mean, such is the fate of the video game industry, and it's just such a
and the media industry in general.
Media, but I would say video games more than most, because it's so dependent on whatever game you're doing being a hit. And for something like HQ Trivia, which is like they're literally doing daily shows, like it needs to be a continual hit forever. People need to come back to it in order for it to continue to employ people. And like I said, I didn't even realize it was still going. So, and we follow this industry pretty closely. I don't know. HQ was really, really interesting for like a year and a half, like maybe. And then people started writing bots to just win every round. And then it just got less interesting.
Yeah. Which is fucked up.
Yeah.
It's a shame they weren't able to like counteract that and deal with it.
Yeah.
But, and I saw something that they might be trying to revive it.
Why?
Because there's a brand name there, and
failed the first time.
Oh yeah, it's well,
maybe if they made like a you don't know Jack kind of thing,
who knows?
With an HQ Trivia kind of thing, sure, but
maybe. But if it doesn't have Scott Rogowski, then what's the point?
Yeah, I mean, their other hosts were good, to be honest. Like the guest ones weren't so great, but like the other hosts the other normal hosts they had were good. But Scott Rogowski he's an institution.
Yeah, and I'm glad he got out of there and was able to make some of himself. And I hope all those people are able to do something with themselves. I think it was like 25 people was the number laid off or losing a job at this point. Not really laid off if there's no company left, huh?
Yeah,
but yeah.
Yeah,
I hope all those people land on their feet and something good happens to them, because they made an interesting thing.
They did. It was very creative. It was from the Vine people, wasn't it?
Yes, one of them died over the course of that.
Yeah.
Did you know when you log into Byte, it says in memory of whoever the guy who died was?
I
can't remember his name.
Yeah.
So yeah, whenever you boot it up, it's got a little memoriam. I don't know how long that lasts. But
I mean, that's nice. I can appreciate that, but still, yeah.
It does not say sponsored by Sweet Green.
How dare they? Thanks, Satan.
Yeah. So, hopefully all those people land on their feet. But I got to go land on my back because it's very late and I want to go to bed.
Yep. And you have been drinking, so.
Shh. I can't let the listeners know I'm drunk, because I definitely didn't do that at the beginning of the episode. That is going to do it for episode 109 of Gaming Fix on this February 22nd, 2020. I've been your host, Andre Cole, aka your girl's favorite Linux distro.
Mm-hmm.
You can find me on Twitter at Coolslaw, COOLSL4W. Alex, where can people find you?
Probably playing that World of Horror game.
Okay. Is that out on PC yet?
Yeah.
On Game Pass?
Okay. I think so.
Okay. All right. I want to check that out. You can find Sam at SGCH on Twitter and or taking care of a fussy Todd Howard.
And or taking care of a fussy IMDb.
That too.
Yeah.
You can catch us on Twitter at Fix Podcasts or email us at gaming@fix.space with your questions, comments, hopes, wishes, recipes. Always down for a good recipe.
Please send all the recipes.
And we will be back next week with a new episode.
Okay.
And you can check the website for maybe a review of Death and Taxes and some other stuff. Maybe, I hope.
Yeah.
Because we haven't done anything this year yet, so
yeah, we have not yet released it.
There's not been a lot of games and nothing that's grabbed us that has like warranted that kind of coverage so far. So
no. All right,
we get some for Kentucky up there. Goodbye, everybody.
Have a good sleep.
I love Rocky Road. Let's go with me.
Okay, good night. Bye.